Hello, everybody. Welcome to another. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Hello, everybody. Those of you who may be watching for another sudden, unexpected episode of Pastor Don's Drive Time, DGAF, which is this wonderful new series I'm doing where I use all or some of my driving time to the university to get up here and talk to you guys about topics that are important, that are necessary for us to discuss, and which may require the pastor to be a little more, DGAF about the content at hand. So today, I'm probably going to go maybe a little shorter than usual. I'm kind of in a bit of a hurry today. But I have been thinking about a number of different topics of late that we could talk about. Now, what gets me lately, a number of things, honestly, like this is a disaster pants moment in our history of Christendom, in our history of as a country, the United States at least, really in our history of the world. And there seems to be a kind of an isolationism happening everywhere. I read this morning that Japan is planning to add JLPT2 certification requirements to nearly all of its immigrant visas. Basically, the equivalent of America passing English as a national language, requiring anyone who comes to the country to be fluent in the native language. And there's something to be said for, knowing the dominant language in the region you're going. But it's also extremely exclusivist to tie it onto a for-profit testing system that many people can't necessarily afford to take. And this is a Japanese example of much more dramatic things happening back in the U.S. as well. So honestly, it's hard to say who's worse. Oh, wait, no, definitely the United States. Yeah. I plan to get a little bit to my main kind of topic I wanted to talk about, because I noticed not a whole lot of people on right now. Most of you, I'm guessing, are going to just catch this on the replay, if you do at all. Later on, I want to get into the idea of oxygen mask theory, which is a kind of pop psychology thing that's been bugging me a lot lately. But before I do, I'm going to get political for a minute. I've noticed making the rounds a snippet of some pastor from, I think, Virginia or West Virginia or Carolina, somewhere in there, ranting very publicly about, the sins of the United States, slavery, chattel slavery, the Jim Crow, all of these different things, and how they pertain to our current situation. He's right. Yes, absolutely. And I'm not going to dismiss this pastor as being wrong in any way, shape, or form. The bits of his sermon that I have seen have been spot on. The dude lambasts the United States for its many, many sins, which longtime listeners of my rants may realize something I've been doing for a very, very long time myself. And it got me to thinking, well, not about the sins of the United States, which are myriad and great and terrible, but got me thinking about the way things work in terms of message visibility right now. Because, yeah, it's great to see a white pastor with, the full Southern church behind him of massive scale preaching the gospel in this way. It is heartening, because we don't see that kind of a gospel condemning the United States in the strongest possible terms coming out of large churches, mega churches, Baptist churches, and definitely not out of Southern churches, very much, if at all. It is heartening in that respect. But on the other hand, and I don't, I'm speaking for myself here, but I suspect I speak for many of my colleagues when I say, what the hell, most of us have been putting out that message for decades or longer. There have been messages like this coming out of my own tradition since, about as long as America's been around. So, yeah, the question of visibility really does rankle, particularly in an era of internet discourse that doesn't differentiate between evangelical and Christian. It doesn't differentiate between hyper-conservative, Trump-supporting lunatics and actual Christians. As I've made mention of in worship a couple of times, last couple of worships actually, our denomination recently released another statement condemning Christian nationalism. We have a condemnation of Christian Zionism that's been on the board for almost as long as I've been alive. So, like, it's not new and this is for our own denomination, which is highly conservative amongst, mainline denominations. The PCUSA, for all that I may disagree with them on some of the more performative aspects, they've been right up there with putting out statements. They've been very public about what they feel and what they think is right and wrong with respect to the gospel message and the United States being, well, a garbage fire of racism and bigotry wrapped in a blunt made out of hopelessness. They've been very clear about that fact. So it's not a new message coming out of the main line. It really isn't. And anyone who attends mainline churches knows this. So, again, I get into the question, and yeah, I know it's a bit self-serving as I sit here on a YouTube live stream with precisely 0 currently live viewers. Where the hell is everybody? Like, most of us are putting out this message via every channel we know. Why is it that we only get to really see the big names throwing themselves out there when most of us mainline pastors have been dedicating our lives to it? Part of it, of course, is, not everybody's social media savvy. I'm not especially social media savvy myself, although I kind of get head and shoulders above a lot of my older colleagues, I'll admit. But I don't think that's the only thing. It only takes a minute to capture anything of what any of us have said. Truth be told, I'm surprised I haven't caught flack for a lot of the things I've said in sermons, in worship, and in other things as well. It really makes me wonder, what does it take to be noteworthy in this society? And not even noteworthy. What does it take to get the message out? And the honest answer is, I don't know. Maybe I'm just old man yells at cloud here, but I don't know what it takes to catch the attention of the internet sometimes. I really don't. But I do wonder because I've been putting out this message for a while. Most of my colleagues have been putting out this message for longer than I have. And I cannot say this strongly enough. America is a fundamentally carceral state who offends God with its very function. It exists to oppress people. It is built on the backs of slaves. It turned the rejection of slavery into a formation of an entirely new carceral state that continues to do the same stuff it did, but just to more people. It benefits from wealth inequality. It's run by people who are greedy and intolerant and who wish only to have all for themselves. And it is the fundamental core of the American identity. The idea that we deserve more. And it's wrong. There's no other way to describe America other than wrong. There is no other way to describe a capitalist society other than fundamentally wrong. So that's what it is. So, yeah, I don't know how to scream that message from the rooftops to people any more than I already am, but you know damn well I'm going to be doing it. So that's enough of my kind of self-centered rant for today. I do want to take a little bit to talk about, like I said, oxygen mask theory, which is a bit of an issue for me. It's a pop psychological thing, and it's tied to a lot of things in our common culture, which I know when she finally gets around to see this, our deacon chair Mal is probably going to reach through the screen and throttle me. But it is tied very heavily to our understandings of self-care as well. And I'm not going to stand here, sit here, or drive here. I'm not going to be here and tell you that self-care is inherently bad. You know I'm not going to say that per se. That was weird. Apologies for that. I appear to have been temporarily disconnected, but we seem to be back. Anyway, oxygen mask theory from pop psychology is basically this. Imagine you're on an airplane and the oxygen masks fall, there's something happening. The stewardess, of course, the flight attendants, all of them, will tell you, put your own mask on first before you put on the mask of anyone around you, because if you can't breathe or function, then there's no way that you're going to be able to help other people. That's the theory. In context, and hey, there's that word y'all know I love. In context, that makes sense. In the context of a plane situation requiring oxygen masks, you're in a row of people and all the masks fall down. Of course, grab your mask first, make sure you're safe enough to help other people. That makes sense. But it's built on an underlying assumption that makes it not apply the way we do. We think of that as a metaphor for life. Okay, well, you can't help anybody if you are not taking care of yourself, if you are not making sure that you have self-care, making sure that you have everything you need and that you want first, then you don't have it within you to take care of other people, and you're not going to really help. The problem is it's built on, like I said, a couple of underlying assumptions, the biggest one of which is that oxygen mask theory assumes the plane is functioning and all the masks drop for everybody. Imagine the same scenario and not all of the masks drop. Okay? The question then ceases to be, should I put my mask on before the people around me, and starts to become, who can hold their breath the longest? Now, for a lot of us, we're not in a situation where all of the masks are falling equally, and we have to make sure to put on our own mask and do our own self-care before we take care of others. For a number of us, there aren't enough masks to go around, and we're having to do some pretty harsh calculus. Now, you all know me, and you know that the next words out of my mouth are going to be to say that the Christian function is to be the one who holds their breath, and that's broadly true. Like, not all of us have that ability as well, but you know what? Those of us as do should be trying to hold our breath and make sure that others get their needs first. The Christian function is to be the one who gives before they receive, the one who takes care of others first, who places the neighbor above yourself, who loves others as you would want to be loved, and doesn't love yourself as you want to be loved and then love your neighbor the way that you want to be loved. That's not the way we do. It's complicated to a certain extent, but we have taken the idea of oxygen mask theory as a culture, and we've kind of taken it through pop psychology, and kind of decided that the only way to live life is to meet all your needs first and then consider meeting others. And I have people in my own life who take this approach, and it's frustrating, especially because not everybody has an oxygen mask. Not everybody's needs can be met on their own. If you are, imagine sitting next to a 5-year-old and your mask falls and theirs doesn't, what do? You give your mask to the 5-year-old, obviously. But most of us are living our lives as that 5-year-old. We can't reach the mask even if it does drop. And if it did, and it isn't dropping, we're sitting there with no mask, having people telling us, well, you have to put your mask on first. And that's ridiculous. We tend to criticize people who aren't doing self-care in the way we think they should, as, well, you need to make sure to take care of yourself. You need to make sure to put on your oxygen mask for others. And it's not everyone can reach their mask. Some people need to depend on others. Some people don't have the ability to breathe unassisted in this environment, in this situation, in this season of life. And it's incumbent on all of us who care to share our masks, to look out for those whose needs cannot be met in the current environment. And if we are saying, well, I got to make sure I've got my mask before you get yours, then we're not doing the right thing. If you put your mask on and then start rooting around trying to find another mask, that's fine. But you should also be sharing your mask and making sure that the other person can breathe. You've got to be doing what you can to keep those who cannot care for themselves afloat as well. And if you're sitting there, as many do these days, prioritizing self-care and cutting other people out because, well, I don't have it. I can't do it. I have to take care of myself first. Then you're wrong. I'm sorry to say. Like, self-care is a vital part, but it has to be balanced with situational awareness. You have to know that caring for others is requisite as well. And if you don't have the ability to do that, then it's something you need to work on. And in the end, that's kind of the last part here is, for many of us, there are things we are doing, approaches we are taking that are things we have to work on, that are things we need to worry about, that are things about ourselves that require change. I'm no different. I've been on a quest to change myself for the better for 20, 30 years now, and still am working on it. You know, there's a reason why I'm the pastor who swears constantly and catches, backlash for that from time to time. I'm not perfect. I don't ever freaking claim to be. But I don't believe we should be perfect. But at the same time, Just because we acknowledge that we are imperfect doesn't mean that we aren't striving for it. So that's the message I wanted to kind of leave you guys with today is, yes, self-care, but also like self-care, but aware. Like, be aware of the people around you. Be aware of who's suffering, because not everyone can take care of themselves. Not everyone's needs are within their reach. Not everybody can do the things that make them happy or can enrich themselves on their own where they are in life. And so in order to care for people, it requires being aware of the fact and not judging people. I catch a lot of flack for not doing enough self-care, but the truth of the matter is, for survival's sake, a lot of the things I would do for self-care are entirely out of my reach. It's too much. And it's unfortunate, and it sucks, but that's the season I'm in. The season a lot of people are in right now, that self-care sounds like a wonderful thing. It sounds like a breath of fresh air, an oasis in the desert, but you just can't reach it. You're not there. You don't have access to it. And if you try to reach for it, someone else that is important is going to suffer. We all have to consider those who can't reach for it. And if we're not considering that as we're doing our self-care, then we're just being selfish. I don't think any of us want to do that. All right, folks, that is as far as I'm going to go for today. A little bit shorter than last time, but I don't see really anyone popping in today. So I'm going to leave it at that and hope some of you kind of catch this on the replay. Y'all go ahead and take care. I will see you later. Bye, everybody.